to kind of ration, if you like, the kinds of discretionary activities that you might undertake. And if it is a thing as you're planning to, have a number of people over to the house, maybe it's a smaller number of people.
Details of the government's climate action plan are being finalised this evening. The plan includes sectoral emissions targets for all parts of the economy. Reports today suggest it will commit to just a 10% reduction in methane emissions by 2030. Social Democrats co-leader Roisin Shortall asked the Taoiseach why isn't it the 30% he promised at COP26.
Can you explain the purpose of publicly signing up to a 30% reduction target when it seems you've no intention of even attempting to achieve that? So will the kudos that you got be short-lived, Taoiseach? And will it ultimately just make the country look like it doesn't take its climate action obligations seriously?
And Dublin is to get 2 reverse vending machines in a bid to encourage recycling. For every plastic bottle or can that's deposited into the machine, a charitable donation is made. The machines are due to be installed on a trial basis at Trinity College and the airfield site in Dundrum. But Conor Horgan from the Irish Business Against Litter doesn't think the machines will help Dublin's litter problem.
Nice idea though it is. It's hard to see these reverse vending machines being so widespread that they'll have a real impact on the city. I also think that the people attracted to these vending machines may not be the people who are dropping litter on the street, and that is an issue. So it's important from a point of view of recycling, but it's not really solving the litter problem per se.
That's it for now. We'll have more in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair, visit Christmas markets in Berlin, Vienna, Prague and more.
Mainly dry with some patches of mist. There'll be some light showers in northern and western coasts. A cold night with lowest temperatures of -1 to +4 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, proud sponsors of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow.
This is News Talk.
Welcome along, folks. Great show on the way. Champions League evening, of course. Louise Quinn will keep an eye on Liverpool Atletico this evening. We will talk to John Egan as well. He scored for Ireland, obviously, against Portugal. He'll be facing Ronaldo and co again tomorrow week. So we'll chat to the Republic of Ireland international, who will join us live this hour. If you have any questions for him, 53106, or you'll get us at Off the Ball. Gordon Darcy and Keith Wood with us on Wednesday Night Rugby as well. Dan McDonnell, hello.
Hi Joe, how are things?
Yeah, very well. Dan will be on the football show here in studio, and Richie McCormack, good evening.
How are you, Joe?
Lots going on. Dan, I suspect you were at Damien Duff and his press conference this afternoon. This is great for Irish football, isn't it? This is box office stuff.
Yeah, no, it is, Joe, and it was box office for sure. You're right. I mean, sort of one of the hotels out by the airport at 12 o'clock today, the full conference room, the backdrop, this is a proper press conference vibe to the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, it's been floated. It's, I think we might have touched on this last week. I can't remember, but certainly this has been going around for a week. And I think Damien Duff obviously confirmed that, confirmed sort of that he was unsure about taking the job, confirmed that he turned it down initially and then changed his mind over the weekend, or was convinced to change his mind, and then spoke very openly and honestly about why he's doing it, the fears he has, that he's stepping out of his comfort zone. It's a step into the unknown. But more than anything, what you have, and you sort of alluded to it there, I mean, you have like a household name in Ireland working within the League of Ireland, someone who's captivating to listen to, whether you agree with what he's saying or not, and yeah, he's gonna see where it takes him, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes him, because we've heard so much over the last couple of years about Damien Duff. I think any interview he's done, any discussion he's had about his philosophy in football has been quite interesting, in some ways quite old school, quite demanding. You hear the stories of his 6 a.m. training sessions at Shamrock Rovers, or paying out of his own pocket for training sessions at Shelbourne because he didn't think they were getting enough training sessions while working for free there. And that's all great in the context of helping kids and being passionate for youth development and creating the next generation of stars. But now going into a slightly different environment, a senior environment, in a sort of idiosyncratic League of Ireland environment, it's going to be fascinating, yeah.
No, sure will. Needless to say, Richie, it's where your news round starts, so let's kick off. It's with thanks to Gillette, as ever, proud sponsors of Movember. Gentlemen, start your razor. So you've got some Duff audio for us?
Yeah, he was of course confirmed this morning as the new head coach at Shelbourne. It's the former Republic of Ireland winger's first managerial gig after an assistant role with the national team and Celtic, and most recently the job of Shelbourne under-17 manager. Duff succeeds Ian Morris, who it was announced was stepping down after guiding Shells back to the SSE Electricity Premier Division. And after previous short coaching spells elsewhere, Duff today shot down suggestions he could leave Shells high and dry next year.
I knew I'd be asked this question, but I don't know how you prove longevity or commitment to a club. You know, I was at Shamrock Rovers as a player, obviously, and then as a coach for 18 months. I dedicate my life for 18 months to kids at Shamrock Rovers. It's never mentioned. I got stick for, training at 6 o'clock in the morning and then bring them back out at 6 o'clock at night. I'd like to think they were the best days of them boys' careers so far today. I probably saw them kids more than I did my own kids, so dedicate my life to them. But I can't prove longevity by saying no to Celtic then. So if Celtic come and asked me to come and leave Shamrock Rovers 15s, everybody in the room would say yes. So I went to Celtic, had an amazing time at Celtic. If I go back there tomorrow, I'll be welcomed back with open arms. Built amazing relationships with some special people. But when your wife and your kids are back home and your son and your daughter are asking, Daddy, forget about 8, 9 and 10, we just want you home, you come home, just like everybody else in this room. So I came home. I went to the Irish coaching gig, obviously. And again, as I touched at the start, I would have been unhappy with myself. So I'm not going to get into that today. But I'd like to think, again, everybody in this room would have left the gig, which is what I did. But everywhere I've been, I'm now with Shell 17s and now the first team, I've dedicated my life to them. So longevity or impatient or always jumping ship, I actually don't when you strip it back and look at the ins and outs and the reasons. I'm incredibly dedicated. I dedicate my life to players. I'm still in touch with Celtic players. I'm still in touch with Shamrock Rovers under 15s players for help, for guidance, on and off the pitch. I tell my Shelbourne 17 players that now, on and off the pitch. I'm here till the day I die, till the day they die. If I bump into them in the street in 20 years' time, and it's going to be exactly the same with senior players, whoever they are next year. So I knew it would be asked, but I think it needed to be addressed, because to say I jump here, there, and I'm not. When I'm with players, they get the whole of Damien Duff. I give my life to them.
I think you could class that as a staunch defence, Dan.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was this sort of a polite enough question about his commitment to previous roles, because this has been the line over the last couple of days. Reporting this story, you might post it up and there's comments of, he'll leave in no time, he'll be off, because this is what he does. And he was very much keen to stress that is not the case, that he doesn't just sort of up and leave when he doesn't like something. The Ireland one is obviously the unanswered one still. Certainly,
and was that a no-go area today, yeah?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Not even, I know there was subsequent press conferences and print stuff and so on. I would have been in that, but no, it wasn't. You're not going to wake up tomorrow morning to some big revelation on that either. No, it wasn't. It wasn't on the agenda there for him. On the agenda today for him to go there. But it's, I mean, as you've played it there, it was quite a lengthy answer and quite a sort of a staunch defence of his own work. And I mean, it does tally with the tales that you hear of his commitment to his players, particularly in those underage gigs. It is 24/7. There is nothing else in his life. He could never be accused of doing things by half measures, that's for sure. But he is his own man in terms of decisions he takes, regardless of what the consequences of them might be.
Yeah. What does he have to work with at Chels, Rich?
A decent squad, but again, it's one as ever that will require refreshing. I'd imagine that he would have been given certain assurances that they'll be able to go after a calibre of player that's probably already existent in the Premier Division. Otherwise, he perhaps wouldn't have taken on the job. But again, his passion is moulding young players and working with them, and there's enough of that kind of youth shot through the Shells first team at the moment. That he would be, he would have his fingerprints on to a certain degree, but also that he would be able to mould and bring on even further. But like any team, like it's not just Shells. Like Shells found it out 2 years ago. Coming up from the first division, look at like Longford this season. Regardless of who you are or what your profile is or what your past is in the game, it is a difficult thing to try and stay in the top flight. And he will find that next year. Like, he might get off to a brilliant start and confound all expectations and all that kind of stuff, but it will be a bit of a trudge at times next year for Shells, and they will, because they're either have to going to stick with their squad as it is now, or as it is mostly now, or integrate a lot of new players, and both of those things are equally difficult when you're a team coming up from the first division. So he's not going to have it easy, that's for sure.
Well, on the football show, Dan's in studio. Owen Sheehan had a one-on-one chat with Damien Duff. We'll play you all of that and a few other clips besides. So Duff at Shelburne, the new era begins officially. So exciting times ahead there. Champions League this evening.
Yeah, Liverpool can secure a place in the knockout phase of the competition tonight. They welcome Atletico Madrid to Anfield. Liverpool start with Alisson in goal, a back four of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Joel Matip, Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson. Fabinho returns after 3 games out in a midfield that also contains Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Jordan Henderson. Their front three tonight: Mo Salah, Sadio Mane and Diogo Jota. A few changes for Atletico. One of them enforced, of course, after the red card shown to Antoine Griezmann 2 weeks ago. So Jan Oblak starts in goal for them. Felipe, the returning Jose Jimenez and Mario Hermoso are their back three, with Kieran Trippier and Yannick Carrasco providing the width. Rodrigo de Paul sits in midfield with Angel Correa in for Thomas Lemar, and he's playing alongside Koke in midfield. And Joao Felix plays up top alongside the former Liverpool striker Luis Suarez. Kickoff at Anfield is at 8. Group B's other game tonight had a 5:45 start at the San Siro. It's now AC Milan 1, Porto 1. Luis Diaz gave Porto a 6th-minute lead at the San Siro, but Milan have achieved parity in the last couple of minutes since we came on air. 1-1, and there's 23 minutes to play in that one.
Liverpool against Atletico in Liverpool, I think for lots of us suddenly brings back memories of March the 11th, 2020. That was the week where really the pandemic became very real. That was the week Cheltenham was happening to much dismay. There have been reports into what happened around that time, and in effect, I think 41 deaths have been attributed, or unnecessary deaths is how it's described, attributed to Cheltenham that week. And for the Liverpool-Atletico game, we're at 37 deaths, which is an extraordinary number. I mean, you could imagine if that many people had died in a tragic event at a match, it would be very much immortalised and would be talked about at length. So 37 deaths unnecessarily because of the decision to have that match. There were 3,000 fans from Madrid. Already at this stage, you might remember the La Liga games had all been operating behind closed doors, but this match went ahead. I just mentioned it because there was because it's on this evening, but also there was a very good piece in The Observer at the weekend by Andy Hunter. It's worth a read. You get it on the website there. And he's just talking to various people about that night. And Pep Linders, the assistant coach at Liverpool, is remembering it and talking about Klopp's agitation in the build-up to the game. And there's a quote from Carlo Ancelotti, and he says that Klopp told me that going ahead with the game in those conditions was a criminal act. I think he was right. And Klopp got a phone call from a friend to say, don't shake Simeone's hand. Ironic, given where we are now, obviously. But this was the mood in the Liverpool camp at the time. And then there's shocking quotes, really, from family of fans who were at the game. So Richard Mawson was 70 years old. He was very, very fit, went to the gym all the time. And he was a lifelong Liverpool fan, went to the game, fell ill with coronavirus a fortnight after the game, died a short time later on a ventilator. So his son Jamie was talking to the Liverpool Echo and said how he had walked to the game, his usual route, walked through the Atletico fans who were outside the stadium. And his wife said, it was 3 a.m. when I called the ambulance. I was stuck looking out the window as my husband of 50 years was taken away. He was like a lamb to the slaughter. He never came back. The only time I saw him again was to wave goodbye over a video. It was awful. We could only have 10 people at his funeral. And I don't know about you, Dan, my overriding memory of that game that week was thinking, my God, this shouldn't be happening. You were realising the same thing about Cheltenham, and Klopp walking out of the tunnel and all the fans stretching down, straining down to high-five him, and him rebuking them, livid. And I think at that moment the insanity of what was happening was hitting him in a very real way too.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, God, I completely understand why it's a talking point. I can completely understand why Andy Hunter did that piece, but even just going back over it now, it's almost a place you don't want to go back to, because it does remember your own individual memories of how it all kicked off. Because I probably hadn't thought of that Liverpool Atletico Madrid game as much as I would have Cheltenham. I remember Arteta testing positive, of course, and that was almost felt like a big moment as well too. But I suppose, didn't we have a sort of a certain version of it here as well, where like the Ireland-Italy Six Nations game didn't go ahead, but you could still see Italy fans all around town, all around Dublin in that period, which I think might have been, was that even the weekend before? It possibly might have been. And you were in that surreal place where you probably knew that it wasn't right, but you didn't know enough to absolutely 100% definitively say it in some cases, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's a sort of a strange old fixture to come back, because we're probably only still getting used to now completely to the full, to the spectre of like full stadiums. I mean, you think about it, tomorrow week, we're going to have 52,000 people in the Aviva Stadium for Ireland-Portugal. We're going to have people travelling, walking the roads they walked before, getting the dart, travelling in the way that they travel to games, all the stuff that you do unconsciously, without even really thinking. And now I still think, and I've gone to a lot of games in the last while, you still see people's behaviour in some cases it's different. And you see the Premier League now, and you feel like still the UK, you're looking at the pictures in the UK, and you hear anecdotal tales of public transport in the UK, and you feel like they've gone back to normal really, really quickly. Maybe symbolised by Boris not wearing a mask next to like David Attenborough. Whereas over here, you still feel that maybe the habits of some people going to games have changed a small bit, and you kind of wonder, will that leave a longer term legacy still? But yeah, it's a point in history, I suppose, and that's the image on it. I'm sure there were I understand why those sporting events are picked out, but I'm sure there was a lot of sort of public transport events and other things that shouldn't have happened around that time that probably threw up significant figures.
No, I'm sure. I think it was the Madrid fans
other events
aspect, maybe 3,000 fans around the city, hotels, all that kind of stuff. But as for Boris, well, that was the same week he was saying he's still shaking hands with people, and he was going around hospitals shaking hands with people, and I think they were very much considering herd immunity as a policy at that stage. So.
It's nice to see
none of us were wearing masks at that time either, were we? Sorry, Richie.
Yeah, no, he's nothing's changed with Boris really. He's sitting beside a 95-year-old Sir David Attenborough without a mask on the other day, so he's still as brazen as ever, bless him.
Yeah, that'd be a real legacy for Boris, wouldn't it, if he wears something there? But I don't know what he's thinking. So, Champions League, Rich, that's that. Where do you want? You can blast us through a few here before the clock gets against us.
Tsimikas, I should mention, is starting ahead of Andy Robertson tonight. Robertson's on the bench. There's no injury concern there, but Kostas Tsimikas starting at left full. For Liverpool tonight, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has warned against retaliation from Club Brugge as they renew acquaintances at the Etihad. City won the last meeting of the sides 5-1 in Belgium. Ederson starts in goal for City tonight. Kyle Walker, Aymeric Laporte, John Stones and João Cancelo is at left back tonight for City. Rodri, Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva are in midfield, and then a front three of Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden and Jack Grealish. Elsewhere in Group A, there's an 8 o'clock start to the meeting of RB Leipzig and Paris Saint-Germain. Elsewhere, the First Division playoffs get underway tonight here at home. Both of these first legs kicking off at 7:45 tonight. UCD have made the trip to Markets Field to take on Treaty United, and Bray entertain Galway United. Both of those games kicking off at 7:45. Well, the chairman of the IABA's board of directors has requested Sport Ireland to conduct a review into the governance of the association. Kieran Kirwan was appearing in front of an Oireachtas committee this afternoon. It follows the news that High Performance Director Bernard Dunn has lodged a formal complaint with the IABA. Dunn claims to have been undermined by a SWOT analysis position paper which was circulated to IABA members in the spring. It's one of the issues that was raised today by Kirwan, who could not answer who was behind the SWOT paper when he was talking to Imelda Munster, the Sinn Féin TD.
The SWOT analysis was anonymous and nobody has admitted to writing. Did you investigate it? We are investigating it. There's a current investigation on our disciplinary process. We have certain information on it. We know whose fingerprints are on it, our handprint, should I say, in an IT sense. So we're making progress, but it's slow, and there's been no admissions. It's anonymous. And it really shouldn't be given credence. And even discussing it here gives it a certain legitimacy which it does not deserve. It was an appalling attack, not just on our high-performance director. It was an attack on our unit. It said our high-performance unit was out of touch with modern coaching methods.
It's hard to credit that you don't actually know.
No, it is, because it wasn't. Nobody has taken responsibility for it. I'm not saying I don't have suspicions as to who was behind it, but I don't have the proof as yet. And it is now not a matter that I can comment on any further, because it is forming part of an independent disciplinary process with an independent barrister who does this work for us on a pro bono basis.
Right, well, if you're confused, join the club. So Ronan Mullen has been watching that full Oireachtas committee hearing earlier on, so he's going to join us after Wednesday night rugby. Don't panic, everyone, it's Wednesday, not Monday. And Ronan's going to take us through it, play a few clips, and then try and explain just what's going on here, because the various politicking that's going on in this organisation is hard to get your head around at times. Unai,
Joe, I must say, Imelda Munster in there again. She's a big game player when it comes. I don't know if she does that on like a rainy Tuesday night in the Dáil, but when it comes to like the Oireachtas committee hearings, because she had the Scarlet for You line to John Delaney, which made the news soundbite that evening. So you have another Oireachtas committee hearing today, and it's like Imelda Munster, she produces the big punch again. You know, listen, what a star! A
sporting body in the toilet. Get Munster in her now, is what they say around Leinster House.
There were some yahoos in there again today. There was a couple of people fanboying over John Tracy's presence, which is just embarrassing for all concerned, and somebody else bringing up the case of a teenage freestyle kayaker in West Cork, despite the fact that this is a boxing-only event.
Do you know I assume they were from Cork, were they?
Yes, they were.
On the calibre of our politicians, generally they can hide away in the recesses of Leinster House. It's only when a high-profile committee exposes the ineptitude that you really get to appreciate how screwed we all are.
Yeah.
Richie, Unai Emery has said, no.
Yeah, after doing a nice piece of Luke Edwards about this last night, Unai Emery saying no to Newcastle remaining on the hunt for a new manager after being spurned by the Spaniard. He's committed himself to Villarreal, with whom he's on the verge of a place in the Champions League last 16 following last night's win over Young Boys. Eddie Howe is believed to be next in line for that Newcastle job.
Very good. Fellas, slightly shorter than usual this evening. We're going to make some time for John Egan, who's on the way. He'll be facing Ronaldo and co tomorrow week. Dan, you'll be on the football show after 9, so I'll see you later.
Talk to you then.
Richie McCormack, pleasure as always. Thank you.
Adios, amigo.
Cheers. We've competition time.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
And we had another winner today. John Lakes was listening in Kilkenny. We rang him around 3 o'clock and he knew the correct amount in the cash machine was 4,400.